Eidos is having another layoff, and this time it's Eidos Montreal. Insider Gaming has exclusive additional details on the studio's current work level. Before I even get into that, TLDR, Hazador Gaming. Eidos Montreal hit with layoffs. Projects canceled. Currently working as support studio plus one internal project that has no way of recouping costs. Not great. Not great. This is the original story I'm going to start with, and there's an update to the story as well. First off, Eidos Montreal let go more staff with more layoffs planned. And this is part of the Embracer group, and most people would recognize Eidos' name from Tomb Raider back in the day. They no longer have anything to do with Tomb Raider, but they used to be the publisher for it. Eidos Montreal, the studio known for developing Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy and supporting games like Tomb Raider and others, has had more layoffs. Over the last week, a number of now former employees took to LinkedIn to announce that they were no longer part of the company. Hey there, gameplay director Samuel Dar wrote, was working at Eidos, loved it, and would have stayed, but times are difficult. In total, at least a dozen or more people are now looking for work. This is the second known wave of job cuts at the studio after 75 people were let go back in March. At the time, it was said that the layoffs were done due to mandates coming to an end. And while one would hope that the latest layoffs are the end, that doesn't appear to be the case. In recent days, multiple sources have explained to Insider Gaming most projects at the studio have been canceled. The focus for Eidos Montreal right now, they say, is to work it's doing on Microsoft and Xbox on games like Grounded 2 and Fable. There's also another internal project that started development in 2019, which sources say has no way of recuperating its current costs. That is insane. Inept leadership. How do you have a game 6 years in the making and have no way of recouping the costs? The only way that happens is if you've started over multiple times already from the ground up with it. Yikes. After those projects wrap, however, additional staff reductions are already forecasted. Insider Gaming has attempted to reach out for Eidos Montreal and its parent company Embracer. As they're writing, no responses. But we do have an update with this. This was breaking from Tom Henderson. Exclusive. Eidos Montreal was working on a Legacy of Kain reboot before Embracer buyout. This is why every time a studio gets bought out, guys, it's typically bad news, especially in the long term for a company. Short term can be a big cash windfall. Long term, not great. Several CVs from past employees at Eidos Montreal have revealed that the developer was working on a dark fantasy ARPG and was focused on reviving an established vampire IP with a design emphasis on melee combat and parkour. The details have sparked a lot of speculation online, but Insider Gaming can confirm that it was a Legacy of Kain reboot and that its cancellation is a few years old at this point. To make it clear, the current set of canceled projects circulating around is years old and is not a part of the current layoffs. The project was canceled following Embracer's acquisition of the studio, which was known internally as P16, as it was the 16th project to start development at Eidos Montreal. Described to Insider Gaming as a Legacy of Kain soft reboot, the game made it only around a year into development before Embracer pulled the plug and sent the IP back to Crystal Dynamics. However, it's currently unknown whether or not Crystal Dynamics did anything with the IP after it was transferred back. Well, I will tell you guys, based off of what's going on at Crystal Dynamics right now, don't hold your breath on that either. Because if anyone's having more layoffs than Eidos right now, it's Crystal Dynamics. Sources tell Insider Gaming that the project was going well, and despite only around a year of development, there was already some bare bones gameplay. P17 is unfortunately just one of the many projects canceled at Eidos Montreal in the last few years. As many as 7 to 8. You shouldn't have one game canceled at your studio. That's disastrous, completely detrimental to your entire company. To create a project, have people working on it, spend all this money on it, and then cancel it. You have nothing to show for all the money, just people spinning wheels, doing useless things for no reason for hours, months, years on end at times, and nothing to show for it at the end of it. with the studio seemingly being forced into a direction of being an outsourcing studio for the likes of Grounded 2 and Fable. Sources tell me that the developers were also previously asked to work on Kojima's Overdose, but the request was refused because some of its developers would have had to move to Japan. Wow, that's legit. Currently, Eidos Montreal is also working on its own massive internal project, which started development around 2019 and has seen hundreds of millions of dollars pumped into it, a cost that sources say will unlikely to be recouped. But too much investment has already been made for it to be canceled. That is a dead man walking right there. One thing that will forever confuse me is how one of these developers can possibly spend over $100 million on one of these games. Never mind multiple hundreds of millions of dollars on these games. I understand the cost is a tremendous cost. I get that. I get it. But you see AAA studios all the time putting out games for 70, 80 million bucks, 85, 90 million bucks. I don't know where it became standard outside of Ubisoft to be spending $300+ million on a game. Very rarely is that money ever recuperated. Like, you got to know when you're in development of it that you need to sell a disgusting amount of copies. I'm talking like 12 million copies before you even start making a profit on some of these games. That's insane. The expectation levels are impossible to be met. As for what this eventually means for Eidos Montreal is unclear, but layoffs earlier this year and now other subsequent rounds of layoffs could mean that the future is dire for the studio. If you're a developer at Eidos Montreal and would like to speak further on the issues of the studio, you can email me securely and anonymously at Tom Henderson at Proton. And by the way, Tom Henderson's one of the people that I actually do respect in journalism. This guy's pretty good. They do exist. I know you should hate all journals, but at the same time, there are some good ones. There are some good ones. So shout out to Tom Henderson for that story. And it's funny too, because I took to Twitter after I saw this and I posted about it. I posted, I'm just saying, and quote tweeting Insider Gaming. And I know they aren't at the helm of Tomb Raider anymore. I get that. I know people are going to be jumping at the bit to read about that. Be like, oh, they don't, that's Crystal Dynamics now. They don't do that anymore. They used to. This is like the deterioration of studios. Going back in time with the direction of all these things that have been happening. It's like, you can all point to the single source. Just make the women attractive in the games, guys. How hard is it to do? Why is this so hard? George Torch says, this is what happens when you disrespect Lara Croft's legacy. The Survivor trilogy should have never happened. And I know that there's a lot of people that are going to be very frustrated. Legacy of Kain reboot being cut. But my goodness, if there was ever a time in gaming history that we look back on and say, what went wrong with these studios? Why did everyone get let go? Why was there mass layoffs, project cancellations, and hundreds of millions of dollars spent on these projects that didn't go anywhere? It can all boil down to the same thing. There was a lack of direction, and the people in charge were not addressing the target audience that wanted to buy their games. It really is that simple. Mr. Sparta, just fire the activists, they, thems, and focus on team with creative mind instead of DEI. And you got yourself a successful studio. It's really that simple. No one, activists kill companies. Woke developers deserve layoffs. Welcome home. Sounds like they seem pretty doomed after the Microsoft projects wrap up. Yep. Goodbye, Mr. Jensen. It's going to be very, very bad for not just Eidos, Crystal Dynamics, but the game industry at large. And I guess with all that being said, we'll end the video on this. Put the fries in the bag. I'm fired! Tiger King Rest Carter, member for 4 months. All I want for Christmas is 100% studio layoffs, and hopefully they get gulags after. Well, let's let's keep it polite and say hopefully they get the fuck out of the game industry, which apparently they don't like me saying that. Like they deserve a place in the game. You don't deserve anything. You need to prove your worth. You've done anything but proving your worth in the game industry. Get out. If you cannot hack it, stop applying for jobs in it and saying, "Oh, I can totally do this." That's like literally that's the same thing as the Concord artist. Like this is what you created. You got paid how much and how many years did you work at Firewalk? I did this in 30 seconds with ChatGPT. If ChatGPT does a better job than you need to hit the door. Bye. Don't let it hit you on the way out. Holy shit.